Hi, my name's David. I'm a realtor in Florida, and today was a big day both for me and for all of you. For realtors, it's going to affect us right away, but for the rest of you, it's going to affect you down the road. And what I'm talking about is a settlement between the National Association of Realtors and Sitzer Burnett. The details of their claim is quite simple, that the National Association of Realtors, through their multiple listing service, is forcing sellers to pay the buyer's agents. And this is true because if you're a seller and you sign a listing agreement, traditionally you've paid 5 or 6%, half of which has gone to the agent that you list your home with, and the other half has gone to the agent who brings the buyer. But the lawsuit claims that this is unfair, that there's no valid reason that a seller should or could be forced to pay for the buyer's agent. And the problem is that it does seem like an indefensible position. I mean, I'm a realtor, and our realty code of conduct is cooperation, which is that we feel that we're providing a service to people. I don't think buyers are well served going into huge transactions against professionals, and I don't think sellers would be able to deal with professional buyers either. I don't think either party should be left without representation. The question is, who's going to pay for that? And as of today, the seller is no longer going to have to pay. And not only will the seller not have to pay, which actually has been evident since the ruling, there was a court case brought, an antitrust case about this issue, and this is the settlement of that. The ruling was already against the National Association of Realtors. Nobody really knew what was going to happen, and things continued on as before. But now, these are the terms of the settlement, and I've got them here for you. This arrived in my email at 10:30 this morning. I will run through it. We can talk about what it means, but for right now, let's take a look at what it actually says. So basically, they're saying this is to the realtors. It's been a great strain. It's going to resolve the claims, except for entities that had more than $2 billion in sales. They will still be on the hook. And the issue is that the MLS requires, or had required until today, if you list a property, you have to list how much is the selling broker getting paid and how much is the buying broker getting paid. Obviously, this caused problems because many people thought if a seller offered a buyer's agent 1% and another seller offered a buyer's agent 3%, that the buyer's agent might not even show their client the 1% house. Who knows if that happens, how often it happens, I've got no idea. I know that it's never good to have an environment that encourages temptation, though. But dealing with the issue, what we're looking at here, first, there are 5 points. And of course, the meat of the matter is buried within. Point number 1 is just releasing liability. And we're going to skip the main issues and go back to them right away. The fourth issue is the payment amount, which is $400 million, and that they continue to deny wrongdoing. Okay, so 1, 4, and 5 just really announce the settlement. But the meat of it is these 2 points. And the first is compensation offers moved off the MLS. Listing agents and MLS systems will no longer be able to display what the commission will be. Do you understand what that means? This is the essence of the realtor world. I mean, we've been worried about commissions going from 6% to 5% to 4% to who knows what. And when I say we, I mean realtors as a pack. But the compensation offer being moved completely off MLS means that what the seller pays the buyer and what the seller pays their agent and what the buyer pays their agent is going to be entirely between those parties. So number 1, we're not even going to, or realtors will no longer be able to disclose what compensation is being offered, if any, and that if you are a realtor and you're acting on behalf of a buyer, the buyer is going to have to hire you in writing. While they've been advocating for the use of written agreements, you're going to see when we get down to the details, this is just a summary, that they actually are saying you have to have the details. When will this take place? Mid-July of this year. So let's look at the meat of it, the details of it. We've really covered the essence of it, and you can let the implications sink in for yourself. I think the entire industry has been so disrupted by this agreement. And think about what this actually means, because the realtors, the entire purpose of realtors is that there's a cooperation between people who are trying to help both buyers and sellers, and that there's cooperation between them. Now, sellers are going to hire their agent. Buyers are going to hire their agent. Can they? Are buyers going to be paying 1%, 3% to hire agents? I don't know. We'll have to see. But this is happening now because we're in March. July is what, 4 months away? Just going through the fact sheet. Implication for members, I'm released, thank God. I'm not even sure if I'm released or was at risk, but in any case, I appear to be released now. These are just release points. We're going to get to the actual issues, which are right here. Implications for members. There will be many ways in which buyers, brokers could be compensated. Now, just to remind you, until today, or until a year ago, whenever the ruling first came down, sellers were paying the buyer's agents. And this was handy because buyers didn't have to come up with another 3% to pay their agents directly. I don't know how many are going to be able to do it now, but their suggestions, the suggestions of the National Association of Realtors, are three. Number one, a fixed fee commission paid by the buyer, the seller paying something, or the seller's broker paying something. So these are the three suggested outcomes now. Keep in mind, prior to this, there was never any concern about a realtor taking a buyer to show them 10 or however many houses they had interest in seeing, and the hope and expectation that when that person bought a house, that realtor would be compensated after making sure that the contract process went through smoothly, et cetera, that the broker would be compensated. Now, as you'll see shortly, this is verbiage, they are saying written agreements, the buyers will be required to enter into written agreements with, what they mean is, MLS participants, realtors acting for buyers, would be required to have a written agreement before touring a home. So we are now at the point where sellers, I can't imagine, well, it's not that sellers won't be paying buyers. The three outcomes are that sellers may start agreeing to a concession of a percentage or a fee or some amount, and maybe this concession from the seller does transition us. I don't know. It's really quite something to see, and then you can see this is the details. But the real point are these 2 points, that MLS will no longer allow a listing to discuss compensation. That realtors will have to have buyers sign written agreements. And the written agreement will have to be very specific, because you can't use an agreement that says you're my agent and when we close you're entitled to the fee being paid by the seller, because what we're seeing here is that those days may be behind us, and this may be just what the world has come to now, that a lot of the research that people could do themselves, the other way around. A lot of the research that only realtors could do, people could now do themselves. So, yeah, this is where we are. It's actually quite a shock. I'm not so concerned about myself. I'm more concerned about the entire industry. What we're actually looking at here is that the entire industry has disappeared, and the industry is the seller facilitating the transaction by paying the buyer's agent. Sellers often stretch to come up with the amount for the house. One wonders if million-dollar buyers consider the services of their agent to be worth $30,000 or $20,000, because that's what 2 or 3% of $1 million is. A big day for the real estate industry, and for realtors. I guess this is something like the comet for the dinosaurs. But this is just my personal opinion. Professionally, I am a realtor, and I do engage in cooperation with all fellow realtors to the best of my ability, and will continue to do so since it is in my and their interests to do so. But this is certainly a shock to the system. Good luck to everyone out there.